It was approximately 8 years ago when Elisa Lam, a young Canadian student from Vancouver, was found lifeless inside the water tank of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Even though authorities determined that it was an accidental death by drowning, her disappearance unleashed a series of conspiracy theories that involved more than one person. Amongst them, there was a death metal musician whose life became a real living hell. His name is Pablo Vergara, a Mexican musician, also known as Morbid, that due to a series of strange coincidences, he was wrongly accused for killing Elisa Lam. Let's recap. On the 31st of January of 2013, the CCTV security cameras of a downtown hotel in Los Angeles recorded the last moments the young 21-year-old Canadian student was ever seen alive. Suffering from mental health issues like depression and bipolar disorder, she decided to travel alone to California against her parents' will. She booked herself at the Cecil Hotel, an ancient building of 14 floors and 700 rooms built in the 1920s, located in Skid Row, the worst district in town, plagued by homeless people, drug addicts, and scumbags. 6 days after her arrival, detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department announced her disappearance. One of the most relevant clues of this missing case was the terrifying footage of the elevator camera, where we can see the young woman behaving erratically in the most bizarre manner. Elisa walks into the elevator calmly. She hits the buttons and waits for the doors to close. But they never do. Afraid, she chooses to peek outside, where she appears to have seen and heard something unusual. Scared, she chooses to hide in a corner, and from there on her behavior and gestures become more cryptic and mysterious. Elisa goes in and out of the elevator a few times until the door finally closes down. And she is forever gone, never to be seen alive again. 19 days after this event, many guests began complaining to the reception of the hotel that the shower's water pressure was unusually low, and that the water had a grim color and taste. Maintenance personnel were dispatched to investigate and examine the cause of the malfunction in the 4 water tanks on the rooftop. Her lifeless, naked body was found wedged in one of the water tanks, her clothes floating around her. Even though her body didn't show signs of abuse, the police enforcement didn't discard it a possible homicide. The maintenance personnel demonstrated that the water tank's access door was equipped with a special security alarm that would have been activated if breached without proper authorization, and that had it been activated, a special-made key was required to turn it off. The night she ended inside the water tank, the alarm never went off. On another note, the ruling of suicide didn't make much sense to some because of several factors. Some claims believe that it would have been virtually impossible for her to climb up the water tank, open the extremely heavy iron access door, jump in, and then close it back again once inside. After the autopsy report didn't reveal any sign of struggle or drug intoxication, paranormal theories and any suppositions of foul play were discarded. The police ruled the incident a drowning by accident, and the case was closed. Even though the police ruling was final, the bizarre and chilling events surrounding the discovery of Elisa's body caused a lot of controversies and suspicions. After the video footage of Elisa in the elevator became immediately viral, massive speculations by the web sleuths resurged. They became self-made detectives, judges, defendants, and accusers. This is when the story of Pablo Vergara, a young Mexican death metal musician known as Morbid, comes into place. Days after Elisa's death, his band Slit Wrist published their new music video in their YouTube channel of a song entitled "Died in Pain" that showed a girl running for her life until she's caught up and murdered. Another of their songs, entitled "China," spoke about human remains found submerged in water. Evidently, the web sleuths found a video of Pablo staying at the Cecil Hotel, and so they started to create conspiracy theories around him. Having only stayed a few days in the hotel, and with all these coincidences floating around, that's all it took for thousands of internet users to blame him for killing Elisa. Many believed that his lyrics were an open letter of confession for his crimes, and that he was taunting the world with them. It escalated so quickly that even a TV news station in Taiwan made a note about him being the suspected killer, and affirmed that the alleged murder was served as an evil, ritualistic offering for the devil and for death. The federal police ordered an investigation on the musician, and they interrogated him on his alleged satanic rituals, but they didn't have enough evidence to incriminate him. The young artist had to close down all his social networks, and his artistic activities were erased from all platforms. After the massive hate mail and death threats he received, Morbid counterattacked with a mysterious online video where he affirmed that he didn't even know who Elisa Lam was. But it was all in vain. Even though there wasn't any real proof of any crime, he had already been targeted and wrongly accused. After the nightmare that it was for him to survive the vicious online cyberbullying attacks, he won a partial scholarship to pursue filmmaking at the New York Film Academy in New York City, and he went on to produce a film that has won several awards in important international film festivals. Today, he is still struggling to get his music career going. Recently, Netflix released a docu-series about the missing girl. The film doesn't include the testimonies of her family or parents, but it includes interviews with detectives and people involved around the case, as well as Pablo Vergara's one. In his interview, he confessed that after the cyberbullying attack he experienced, he tried to commit suicide and had to check himself in a psychiatric hospital. His story is a strong example of how dangerously grave it is when the online detectives choose to target an individual and get involved in serious crime investigations to create theories of their own and mindlessly spread misinformation throughout the internet until they destroy and ruin someone else's lives. In Vergara's case, it was only because of some of his lyrics that were vaguely coincidental with her disappearance, and because he stayed at the Cecil Hotel for just a few days. The people who judged him and cancelled him never reached out to him to apologize, and they went on with their lives, as if nothing had happened, while his life was eternally altered and damaged. At the end, Vergara was able to prove his innocence, and it was because absolutely no one really took care to notice a very important clue detail that was that, in the end, the musician had stayed at the Cecil Hotel 1 year prior, before the sad tragedy that happened to Elisa Lam.